Hi everyone, good day. So today we will going to discuss about the laws and policies on violence and discrimination against members of LGBTQ+. But before we proceed to our discussion about these laws and policies on the violence and discriminations against the member of LGBTQ+ community, I have prepared a short video explaining the meaning of abbreviation LGBTQ+. So this will help us refresh our understanding and provide a foundation for our further exploration of the topic. I know that we are all familiar with this abbreviation, but this video will serve as a refresher and enhance our comprehensive of the laws and policies that protect LGBTQ+ individuals from violence and discrimination. So now let's watch this video.
You've probably heard the acronyms LGBT and LGBTQ. Each letter carries a significant meaning, and it keeps changing, so let's break it down. First of all, it's all about inclusion and taking ownership of one's gender and sexual identity. Until around the 1960s, the word gay was used to describe anyone who did not fit into the default societal idea of heteronormativity. The community then started to embrace the gay identity with pride. It's since evolved into more specific words for different identities, like lesbian and bisexual and transgender. In recent years, the Q was added to the acronym to represent people who might not identify as LGBT, and it stands for queer, and sometimes questioning. The Q also acknowledges a fluidity in gender and sexuality. However, it's not used by all members of the LGBT community, since it was once used as a way to put down people. As the acronym continues to evolve, the plus sign was added to acknowledge the limitless sexual and gender identities used by members of the community. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Bottom line, it's all about inclusion and respect.
So now that we are already done watching the video, now let's proceed to the introduction, which is about the 1987 Constitution or Equal Protection and Due Process Clause. So in 1987 Philippine Constitution state that the state values the dignity of every human person and guarantees full respect for human rights. So what do you mean by this? So this part of the Philippine Constitution is like a promise from the government that every person in the country is important and should be treated with respect. So it's basically about treating respect with each other. So it also says that everyone has the right to be treated equally under the law. So this means that no one can be punished or have their freedom or property taken away without a fair legal process. So, and it is stated also that as the fundamental law of the land, the guarantees on equality, lawful process, and the paramount consideration on ensuring human dignity and respect for human rights in this provision serve as the basis for protection of the rights of the members of LGBTQ+. So for example about this Equal Protection and Due Process Clause. So imagine there are two people who committed the same mistake. So according to the Equal Protection Clause, both individuals should be treated fairly and receive the same consequences for their actions. The Due Process Clause ensure that before any punishment is given, both individuals have the right to a fair trial and the opportunity to defend themselves. So it's basically this example is providing individuals who commit same mistake, but because of the law, the Equal protection and due process clause, they are both treated with respect, they are treated fairly, and give them the opportunities so they can defend themselves. So this law also supported by the 2010 Supreme Court decision and the ang ladlad. So before we proceed on that, when we say ladlad is a Filipino term that can be translated to English as unfolding or coming out. In the context of ang ladlad LGBT party, the term ladlad signifies the act of openly expressing one's sexual orientation or gender identity. So let's go back to the case of ang ladlad LGBT party versus the Comelec of GR 1905-82 of April 8, 2010. So consider the breadth of the Equal Protection Clause in the Constitution, which is this Philippine Constitution. The court ruled in favor of allowing the ang ladlad to be a party list, reasoning that from the standpoint of political process, the lesbian, gay, and bisexual and transgender have the same interest in participating in party list system on the same basis as other political parties similarly situated. So hence laws of general application should apply with equal force to LGBTQs, and they deserve to participate in the party list system on the same basis as other marginalized and underrepresented sectors. So basically, the ladlad party list is political organization that represents the interests and the rights of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, or what we call LGBT, and so on. And also, the court emphasized that the principles of equal protection and the right to participate in the political process apply to LGBTQ individuals just as they do to other citizens. By granting the ladlad the right to participate in party list system, the court affirmed the importance of inclusivity and equal representation of all sectors of society, including the LGBT community. This decision was based on the constitutional guarantees of equality and protection under the law as stated in 1987 Philippine Constitution. So that's all for the 1987 Constitution, Equal Protection and Due Process Clause. So now let's proceed to the violence and discrimination. So despite the widespread anecdotal evidence of crimes perpetrated against the LGBTQ plus community in the Philippines, most data on these cases have not undergone official verification and collections. So, although many stories suggest that people in the LGBTQ plus community in the Philippines often face violence and discrimination, there isn't enough official data to confirm this incident. So, for example, for this one, the violence and discrimination, the violence and discrimination against the LGBTQ plus community may involve in, we all know, in physical attacks, verbal abuse, or denying them opportunities based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. So these actions are not only hurtful, but also go against the principles of equality and respect. So because of we have the law about the the Philippine Constitution na we should respect others like how we are how we want to be treated. So this is basically all about focusing on the violence that the LGBTQ communities have been experienced. So one of the example of this violence and discrimination experiencing from the LGBTQ is in March 2016. The Trans Murder Monitoring Project listed 41 reported cases of transgender people murdered in the country since 2008. So since 2008 pa talaga, there are so many incident, violence, discriminations that been experienced by our LGBTQ individuals. So one of this is the case of Jennifer Laude that awakened the members of LGBTQ+. So of the violence and discrimination impending against them. This awareness and opinions called out must be known to be enable critical thinking and sharing of thoughts and ideas. Now let's proceed to the violence and discrimination against the LGBTQ+ youth in education. So first we will going to tackle the first one, which is the Anti-Bullying Act of 2003 in Republic Act 10627. So in this law it stated that it includes gender-based bullying or prohibited and punishable act. When we say gender-based bullying is defined as any act that humiliates or excludes a person on the basis of perceived or actual sexual orientation and gender identity, or what we call SUGI. The Republic Act of 10627 will make a move or take an actions for this kind of bullying. So this law makes it clear that bullying someone because of their gender is not allowed and can be punished. This includes the bullying the LGBTQ+ students. So one of the example of this is, let's say there is a student named Alex who is being bullied at school because of they identify as transgender. And the Anti-Bullying Act of 2013 protects Alex by making it illegal for other students to bully them based on their gender identity. If the bullies are caught, they can face consequences such as suspension or counseling. And that's all for the Anti-Bullying Act of 2013, which is the Republic Act 10627. Now let's proceed to Child Protection Policy of 2012. So this policy from the Department of Education says that if a principal or teacher or other school staff member bullies a student, they are breaking the law. This includes bullying based on student's gender. And in cases where bullying is committed by the principal, which is in the higher position, and especially from a teacher who is responsible for the second parent of the child when it comes to school, they will really face consequences of this kind of actions that they are giving a child. So for example of this is the imagine a situation where a teacher constantly makes derogatory remarks about a student named Sam because Sam is gay. This behavior violates the Child Protection Policy of 2012, which aims to ensure the safety and well-being of students. The school should take actions against the teacher and provide support to Sam or protection to Sam. That is all about the Child Protection Policy of 2012. If when it comes to school in school basis, and the teacher or the principal is the one who in the higher position in that certain school will face several consequences of their actions because they are the one to be responsible of being the role model. That's why if they were going to break the law of Child Protection Policy 2012, they really face consequences, and that school should actually take an actions when it comes to this one. So that's all for the violence and discrimination against LGBTQ plus and youth in education. So there are continuation for this topic that will be reported by Miss Bea Borja, which is my co-reporter in this topic, and she will going to continue the another one of the violence discrimination against LGBTQ plus youth in education. And also Miss Alas, the last reporter for our group, she will going to report some of other topics that is related to the violence and discrimination against the LGBTQ plus. So that's all for my report. I hope you learned something, and good night and have a good day. God bless. By the way, my name is Mary Ann Bisawe. I hope you enjoy my video, and see you next to my video presentation.